Okay, finally I have explained how an operating system manage computer hardware, and even we have discussed the functions of operating system. There are main two functions of operating system: providing user interface and managing computer hardware. So while we discuss about managing computer hardware, we can divide it into 6 parts, students. Yes, can someone remind what are those 6 parts? Yes, students, I hope I have explained those. Just a minute. Right, okay. Yes, students, what are the, how we can divide managing computer hardware into 6 parts,
Process management,
right?
memory management,
Okay,
device management, file management, security management, network management.
right, good. Likewise, we have to remember the 6 kinds of management done by operating system. So process management, memory management, file management, device management, thereafter network management, and the security management is there, right? In this lesson, operating system lesson, A-level ICT, we are going to learn these kind of managements in detail: process management, memory management, file management, and input output management. Input output management, small part is there, and other managements we have to learn in detail, right? So operating system functions as a resource manager. Programs are reside in the secondary memory hard disk before start its execution. Whenever a program start to execute, it is called as a process, students. I already explained it. Program and process. What is the difference between program and process? Program, it resides in secondary memory. It didn't start its execution. So just after it starts its execution, it is called as a process. So a process needs certain resources to accomplish its task. To accomplish its execution, complete its execution, a process need some resources. It need CPU, it need memory, it need files, and it need input output devices. Okay, how a process, that means use CPU, it is considered as process management. How a process use memory, allocate the memory, it is considered as memory management. How a process handle the files, it is considered as file management. And how a process get input output events or request input output, it is considered as input output management. Or even we can say it as IO management. So these are the 4 kinds of management we have to learn in this lesson in detail. Okay, again I'll repeat it, students. It's very important why we are learning, what we are learning. You have to know that. Okay, whenever a process starts its execution, a program starts its execution, it is called as a process. So accomplish its task, a process need certain resources in the computer, in the computer system. One is CPU. So how to allocate a process into CPU, and how much it can stay on the CPU, and what are the ways it can went out of the CPU, those kind of things we consider as process management. And even a process need memory. Okay, how to allocate the memory, how to, that means stay on that ready queue, and how to go to from memory to CPU, how it is, that means picked, that process is picked memory to CPU. So those kind of things comes under memory management. And even while some processes are running, they need files, access files. So accessing, how to access the files, how to store data in a file, and how to read data in a file. Those kind of things comes under file management. And while some processes are that means running, that process to accomplish its task, it may need input output devices or input output event. So that is called as input output management, or even we can call it as, in short form, IO management. Right, okay students, first of all we'll move on to process management. Did I explain that IO bound process and CPU bound process, students? Did I explain it? IO bound process, what is IO bound process, what is CPU bound process?
No, sir.
No, right. Okay, now we are going from the start. That means we started process management now. Okay, how operating system manage this? Yeah,
Will you
we,
give notes for this?
sorry.
Will you give notes for this?
Is it? Do you need notes or not? That means short notes I'll give in whiteboard, but a complete note I can give. Yeah, separately. That means after the class you can write it. No need to write while we are doing the class. So while we are doing the class, I'll give the summary. Okay, right. Okay, we are starting process management. So we have to discuss process management in detail. Concentrate here. When a program starts its execution, it is called as process. So process can be divided into two types. A process can be divided into two types. One is IO bound process, other one is CPU bound process. Yes, it's better to go to whiteboard. Just a minute, students. Right, we'll take that CPU and take RAM. Hard disk drive. Okay, right. So here, in here we call it as a program. Whenever it start its execution, program start its execution, it comes to the memory. Okay, just a minute, students. Okay, it comes to the memory, main memory, that means RAM, and it has to wait in ready queue. Already I have explained what is ready queue, P1, P2, P3 likewise, right? And one process is allocated the CPU and it's running on the CPU. So these processes are two types, students. These processes, here there are several processes, multiple processes are there in RAM, in main memory. So we can divide processes into two types. One is CPU bound processes. Another one is IO bound processes. I told that a process, whenever a process need to accomplish its task, it needs some resources. It need RAM, main memory, it needs CPU, it need hard disk, that means files, and it needs IO devices, so IO event. We call it as block state. Okay, I'll explain states later. Processor states. Process can reside 7 kinds of states. We'll learn it later. Before that, we have to take some basic knowledge of this process management. Right, a process can be CPU bound or it can be IO bound. CPU bound means this process need more CPU time. If any process need more CPU time, it is called as CPU bound process. If any process need more IO time, that means this blocked state. If any process need more IO time, input output time, it is called IO bound process. For example, I am creating a document in Word. In Microsoft Word, I am creating a document. I am typing invitation. Likewise, I am typing the content. So this is IO bound process. Always this process expect input and gives the output. So mostly this process, that means this MS Word, this process need IO, input output. Whenever I type a letter, it is input, then it shows on the screen, it is output. So always it expect an input and the output. So this kind of a process is called as IO bound process, right? Hope it's clear, students. So this kind of a process mostly depends on IO, input output. So it is called as IO bound process. But there are some processes. For example, there are array of numbers 75, 23, 15, 98, 49, 32, 78, right? Likewise, array of numbers. We'll think 100 numbers are there. So if we want to sort it, sorting, ascending or descending order. You can sort it in ascending order or descending order. So while we are sorting this, it doesn't need any input, but it needs CPU. This process, this particular process, that means hundreds of numbers, sequence of numbers are there. So we want to sort it in ascending order or descending order. So while sorting, it doesn't need any IO, but it needs CPU time. So mostly it takes CPU time. So it is called as CPU bound process. So this kind of a process is called as CPU bound process. This kind of a process is called as IO bound process. These are examples, but you can easily remember whenever a process need more CPU time, it is called as CPU bound process. Whenever a process need more IO time, input output time, it is called as IO bound process. Is it clear, students?
Yes, sir.
Right. So processes we can divide into two, IO bound process and CPU bound process. Right. Thereafter, we'll move on to process creation, students. Actually, it's better you have a rough note. Okay. Later on, I'll give a proper note. If I give the proper note now, it will take time. So it's better to quickly draw this. So by using this, you can understand what is CPU bound, what is IO bound. This is a CPU bound process. Sorting is IO bound process. Just quickly draw this, students. I'm going to, that means arrange the basics, give the basics to understand process management. Actually, process management 7-state diagram is there. To understand that 7-state diagram, we need this knowledge. Okay, right.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, MS Word, that example is IO bound process. No?
sorry. Yeah, sorry. Thanks for reminding. Yeah, this one IO bound, this CPU bound. Because this need input output time, more input output time. While sorting, it need CPU time more. Then we can write like this: more IO time. Here more CPU time. So this process need more IO time. That's why we call it as IO bound process. This process need more CPU time. That's why we call it as CPU bound process. Easy concept. Quickly note down it, students. If you complete, raise your hands. Then I can move on to next part.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Last Sunday's recording, can you send it today?
Okay. Yeah. These 2-3 days, that means very busy. That's why that means didn't edit it yet. Today, inshallah, I'll edit it. I'll try to send it today itself, inshallah.
Okay, sir.
Okay, right. Okay, students. Right. So here in hard disk, it is called as a program. Whenever it starts its execution, it move to RAM. Actually, it is wait in ready queue for the execution. So one process can allocate to CPU at a time. And if a process need IO event, it goes to block state. Okay. So I'm going to explain process, CPU bound process and IO bound process. Which process need more IO time? It is called as IO bound process. For example, MS Word, while we are typing, creating a document in MS Word. Which process need more CPU time? It is called as CPU bound. For example, there are a sequence of numbers are there. While we are sorting, it is a CPU bound process. Right, hope it's clear. Right. Thereafter, we have to discuss process creation and process termination. Okay, right. We'll see how a process can create and how a process can terminate. Okay, if we consider process creation, students, there are three situations or three types of situations a process can create. First one, user can start a process. User start a program. Then a process is created. User start a program, a process is created. And OS start a program. OS can start a program, then a process is created. And a running process can create another sub process. A running process can create a sub process. These are the three situations how a process can be created. Okay. A user can start a program. For example, I am double click on Microsoft Word, or I double click on MS Paint, or I double click an MP3 file, audio file. Operating systems can start. Operating system start a program, can start a program. While we turn on the computer, there are many more background processes are running. we are not starting those background processes. You can see all the processes which is running on the CPU by going to the task manager. Alt Control Delete. If you press Alt Control Delete in computer, you can go to the task manager. So in the task manager, it shows how many processes are running currently. So we are starting some processes, but whenever computer starts, there are some background processes are running. Those processes are started by operating system. So operating system can start a program. Okay. Then third way, a running process can create a sub process. For example, if I create a document in Microsoft Word, if I want to add a chart there, so insert chart, then Excel is open there. If I goes to insert chart and I select the chart type, Excel is open. That means a process, a main process, a running process create another sub process. Excel another process. That is one example. So likewise, a running process can create a sub process. Those are the three situations how a process can be created. Clear, students?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah, sir.
Okay, then we'll see how a process can terminate. How a process can terminate. Termination. Process termination. Right. There are several ways a process can terminate. Okay. First one, a normal termination. Normally, it executes all its instructions and terminate. That means normal termination. It executes all the instructions and go to the termination. That is called normal termination. And user can terminate. User can terminate. For example, a song is going there. We played an audio file. User can close it. That means terminate. It terminates. Okay. So user can terminate a process. And if the execution time limit exceed each and every process, whenever each and every process starts, an execution time limit is given. Execution time is given to that process. But if the time limit is exceed, it can terminate. Execution time limit exceed. Next way, execution error occurred. For example, we are using PowerPoint. So if an error occurred there, so automatically it will be closed. Okay, automatically that window will be closed. After a while, automatically it closed. So that is called execution error. If execution error occurred, the process can terminate. And if the needed resource is unavailable, I told you that if a process is running, process needs some resources to accomplish its task. Process needs CPU. CPU is always available in the computer, so no problem. Okay. Process needs memory. Memory is always available in the computer, so no problem. Process needs files. Most probably files are available in hard disk. If sometimes there may be, that means that particular file is not available in the hard disk, process may terminate. And process need IO devices. Sometimes IO devices may not available in that particular time. For example, a process need printer. If printer is not attached to the computer, that IO device is not available. So if a resource is not available, a process can terminate. Okay. Needed resource unavailable. Needed resource unavailable. I gave you two examples. CPU, process needs CPU, always CPU is available, no problem. Process needs RAM, always RAM is available. Process needs files. Sometimes that file may not there. That file may not available in that particular time. So process can terminate. Sometimes a process need IO devices, input output devices. A process need web camera is not there. A process need printer is not there. So that means the needed resource is unavailable. So process can terminate. Okay, right. The last way of process termination, a parent process can terminate a child process. We call it as can kill. Okay, can kill child process. So these are the ways how a process can be terminated. Okay, again I'll repeat it, students. Normal termination, that means complete its execution, all the instructions are executed after it goes to terminate. That is called normal termination. User can terminate whenever a process is going on, we can terminate it. For example, a video is running there, we are watching a video, so we can close it. So user can terminate it. Third one, execution time limit exceed. Whenever a process starts, operating system identify an execution time for that particular process. If the time limit is exceed, so it can goes to terminate state. And fourth one, execution error occurred. Whenever we are running a process, execution error is there, it may go to termination. Needed resource unavailable. For example, IO device or file is unavailable, so that particular process can go to termination. And a parent process can kill a child process. A parent process can kill a child process. Okay, students, these are the ways how a process is creation and how a process is termination. Yes, quickly write down these points, students. Hope it's clear. If you have any doubts or questions, please let me know, students. Quickly write down this. Thereafter, we'll move on to
Can you
next.
explain the third one?
Sorry,
Can you explain the third one?
execution time exceed. That one.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. For example, a process starts. So an execution time is reserved for that. For example, we'll take 20 milliseconds reserved for that process, or we'll take 1 second is reserved for that process. So even after 1 second, that process is not terminating. That means it is executing but not terminating. Sometimes this may be happen, needed resource unavailable. It needs a resource, but it is unavailable. So process has to wait until that needed resource comes, or until it gets that needed resource. So execution time limit exceed. In that point, operating system can terminate that process, because it's a, that means uh, obstacle to continue other processes, because one process is always waiting in the RAM. Execution time limit also exceed, so operating system can terminate it. Clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right, welcome. Right, quickly write down these points, students. After that, we'll move on to next part. After completion, please raise your hands. Okay, students, hope the time is enough. Thereafter, we have to discuss processor